The wind tore across the jagged cliffs of Sindara Prime, carrying the scent of scorched iron and the faint, metallic tang of alien flora. Kade Marlowe stood at the edge, his eyes scanning the horizon, pupils narrowing against the harsh, lavender-tinted sun. Every muscle in his body hummed with alertness, his senses sharpened by years surviving worlds that hung like shattered jewels in the void. Years ago, he had stumbled across 3 alien tiger cubs, abandoned in a hollow crater that still echoed with the screams of dying machines. Their stripes glimmered with bioluminescence, and their eyes burned with raw, untrained intelligence. Many would have turned away. Many would have left them to rot. Not Kade. He had carried those cubs across deserts of molten glass, through jungles where the plants hunted, and past cities buried beneath acid rain. He had taught them to hunt, to fight, to think. He had shown them the singular truth of being human. Courage and intelligence could conquer the impossible. And the cubs had grown into apex predators, majestic and terrifying. The first, Leora, moved with the grace of flowing mercury, her silver stripes shimmering under the dual moons. The second, Rax, was a mountain of muscle and shadow, every step a promise of destruction. The third, Nyx, was cunning, his amber eyes calculating every movement in the distance. Together, they prowled at Kade's side, their loyalty absolute, their instincts honed beyond natural limits. Yet today felt different. The air vibrated with a low hum, like the heartbeat of a planet awakening after millennia. Something ancient stirred, something that remembered humanity not as a frail species, but as a force capable of rewriting the rules of existence. A fissure cracked the horizon, jagged and glowing with molten energy. From its depths rose forms that defied geometry. Creatures built of living crystal, their voices a chorus of grinding stone and singing metal. Kade's pulse accelerated. He inhaled the acrid air, tasting it with precision only honed through years of survival. The cubs circled him, muscles coiled, tails lashing, ears swiveling toward every sound. Their bond was a single entity, each heartbeat in sync with his own. The creatures advanced, their numbers infinite, their shapes mutable. Yet Kade stepped forward without hesitation. He raised his voice, a human voice, to challenge the impossible. You will not take this world. You will not take us. The ground trembled beneath his feet, and for a moment, the air itself seemed to hesitate, acknowledging the audacity of his defiance. Leora leapt first, claws tearing through crystalline armor. Rax followed with a roar that shook the fissure, shattering lesser constructs into shards. Nyx struck from the shadows, invisible until impact, tearing through the enemy with surgical precision. And Kade, human, fragile, mortal, danced among them. His pulse and instincts had become weapons, each movement anticipating, each breath calculating. The creatures underestimated the human mind, always linear, always predictable. They had not accounted for imagination, for creativity, for courage. Hours passed as a storm of light and metal collided. Kade and the cubs were battered, yet unbroken. Sweat, blood, and alien ichor mingled on his skin. He tasted it. He smiled. Humanity had survived worse. Humanity had adapted. Humanity had conquered. Then, something unexpected appeared, a shadow larger than any being Kade had faced. Its eyes were voids, consuming light and hope. The fissure behind it widened, and the sky above fractured into impossible geometries. The cubs hissed, their stripes flaring in response to the psychic weight of the being. Kade swallowed his fear and stepped forward, hand on Nyx's flank. He felt the pulse of the planet beneath them, the heartbeat of life itself cheering him onward. Listen, he whispered. This is ours to fight. Together. The shadow lunged. Time slowed. Every sense flared. Kade dove, dragging the cubs with him, weaving through the impossible battlefield. Steel shards, energy tendrils, and gravitational anomalies assaulted them. Yet every strike, every dodge, every counterattack carried the essence of humanity, adaptability, courage, ingenuity. The cubs mirrored his tactics, an extension of his will. And then in the chaos, Kade realized something utterly terrifying and thrilling. The shadow did not attack randomly. It observed, learned, adapted. Humanity had become more than flesh and bone. It had become a threat that even ancient entities could not ignore. The shadow recoiled for a moment, as if surprised by the human audacity. Kade's heart hammered in his chest, each beat matching the thrumming rhythm of the cubs around him. Leora hissed, silver stripes gleaming, as she darted forward, claws slicing through a crystalline appendage. Rax followed, moving like a living battering ram, teeth bared, muscles coiling with explosive power. Nyx vanished into the chaos, appearing behind the shadow, striking with surgical precision. Kade dodged a rain of jagged energy, feeling it graze his shoulder, searing his flesh. He tasted iron on his tongue and smiled through the pain. Humans endured worse. Humans survived against the impossible. The shadow seemed to pulse, absorbing energy from a fissure behind it. Light bent unnaturally around its form. It was a predator not just of flesh, but of will. Kade's mind raced. Every instinct screamed danger, yet every lesson he had learned over decades whispered opportunity. The cubs were not weapons. They were extensions of his intellect, his creativity, his courage. Together, they could turn even the impossible into manageable chaos. He leapt, dodging a spike of crystalline energy that erupted from the ground. Rax slammed into the shadow, sending shards of refracted light, scattering across the battlefield. Leora leapt high, her claws igniting a chain reaction across the shadow's armor. Nyx struck from above, his amber eyes flashing with deadly focus. And Kade, human, fragile, audacious, found the shadow's first weakness. It paused, analyzed, to predict. That hesitation was enough. He struck, not with brute force, but with cunning. He dove for the fissure's edge, grabbing a shard of molten crystal and twisting it into a jagged spear. Energy arced along its surface, feeding from the ambient chaos. He thrust it into the shadow's side. It screamed, not a sound of pain, but of recognition. Recognition that humans were not prey. Recognition that Earth's children, even in alien form, carried the fire of a species that had survived impossible odds. The shadow recoiled, dissolving into fragments of light and darkness, only to reform moments later. Kade's muscles burned, sweat and blood dripping into the alien soil, but his mind was alive with clarity. He ran toward the fissure, the cubs at his heels. The planet itself seemed to pulse in response, ancient energies stirring from beneath the surface. The fissure opened wider, revealing a cavern of obsidian, veins of molten energy threading through the walls like glowing arteries. Something ancient lived inside, something older than humanity, older than the stars themselves. Kade's pulse quickened. Fear prickled at the edge of his mind, yet he pushed forward. Fear was irrelevant. Humans transformed fear into action. Humans turned survival into innovation. The cubs mirrored his determination, tails lashing, claws scraping across the volcanic rock. They entered the cavern. Inside, the air hummed with raw energy. Crystalline formations floated midair, rotating slowly as if obeying an unseen intelligence. Kade could feel in his bones the power of the ancients, testing him, measuring him. Leora padded forward, nose twitching, ears flat against the skull. She hissed at something unseen. Rax growled low, teeth scraping against stone, muscles tense for sudden combat. Nyx's amber eyes glowed, scanning the shadows. Kade moved deeper, senses expanding, feeling the pulse of the cavern, the heartbeat of the planet, and the echo of the shadow's presence. It had followed them. The shadow's fragments reassembled, swirling in midair, forming a larger, more terrifying shape than before. But Kade did not hesitate. He raised a crystal spear, feeling the raw energy surge into his veins, each pulse syncing with his own heartbeat. The cubs attacked as one, synchronized perfectly, a living embodiment of his will. Leora struck with precision, targeting weak points in the shadow's crystalline armor. Rax smashed into it, a tidal wave of brute force and calculated chaos. Nyx darted and struck from multiple angles, confusing the creature, splitting its focus. Kade waited, analyzing every twitch, every shimmer, every sound. Then he saw it, a core of raw energy, pulsing at the center of the shadow. It was the source. Destroy it, and the shadow could not reform. He charged, the cubs flanking him, a living storm of claws, teeth, and determination. Energy arced from the core, striking the cavern walls, creating a maelstrom of light and sound. Kade felt himself lifted, thrown, slammed against a jagged rock. Pain lanced through his body, yet he clawed back to his feet. Humans were stubborn. Humans endured. Humans conquered. He dove again, spear aimed at the pulsing core. The cubs followed, attacking with precise coordination, striking shards and fragments that distracted the shadow. The core pulsed violently, energy screaming like 1,000 suns. Kade plunged the spear deep, feeling it anchor into the essence of the creature. A scream unlike any he had ever heard tore through the cavern, vibrating in his chest, rattling his bones. The shadow convulsed, fracturing into 1,000 fragments, each piece dissolving into light. The cavern shook violently, molten veins cracking and exploding with energy. Kade shielded the cubs with his body, absorbing shards and heat, teeth gritted against the pain. When the dust settled, silence fell. The cavern hummed softly, a residual energy that whispered approval. Kade sank to his knees, lungs burning, sweat and blood mixing with alien soil. The cubs circled him, tails brushing his arms, heads nuzzling his shoulders, their eyes glowing with unspoken pride. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. But even as the adrenaline faded, Kade sensed it. The universe was vast, infinite, and dangerous. Every victory was temporary. Every calm was the eye of a storm. The fissure began to close, energy bleeding back into the planet's crust. Kade helped the cubs navigate the jagged rocks. He paused at the cavern's mouth, looking back at the darkness they had conquered. He inhaled the alien air, tasted victory, tasted danger, and tasted possibility. Somewhere out there, beyond the fractured skies, older and stronger entities watched. They would test him again. They would test humanity again. Yet Kade smiled. Humans had the audacity to dream. Humans had the courage to fight. Humans had the intelligence to survive and adapt. And he had 3 allies who were more than animals. They were extensions of his will, his mind, his heart. Together, they could face the impossible. The cubs nudged him forward, and Kade rose, muscles aching, mind alert. The horizon burned with alien suns, painting the world in shades of violet and molten gold. The universe waited, and Kade, the Earth Lion, would meet it head-on. As they began their descent toward the alien plains, a ripple of energy streaked across the sky, a signal, a warning, and perhaps an invitation. Kade's pulse quickened. The adventure was far from over. Something unexpected was coming, and when it arrived, the universe would learn once again why humans were unmatched in courage, ingenuity, and resilience. The cubs ran beside him, claws digging into the alien soil, tails flicking with anticipation. The alien plain stretched endlessly, jagged hills rising like broken teeth against the twin suns. Kade's boots pressed into the scorched soil, sending up clouds of crimson dust that smelled faintly of iron and decay. The cubs ran ahead, muscles rippling beneath their bioluminescent fur, eyes scanning for threats that had not yet revealed themselves. Even after the battle in the cavern, Kade's senses remained hyper-alert. Each sound, each vibration, each ripple in the air registering in his mind like a living map. The horizon shimmered strangely, heat waves warping the landscape into impossible geometries. Kade slowed, hand on Rax's flank. "Something is watching," he murmured, voice low, steady, carrying authority without panic. Nyx's amber eyes glowed brighter, tail twitching, ears swiveling. Leora crouched, ready to spring, muscles coiled. The wind shifted, carrying a scent he had not encountered before, a scent of ozone, metal, and hunger. It was not animal hunger. It was intelligence. Calculated. Precise. Kade's mind raced. Humans did not merely survive through strength. They survived through strategy, improvisation, and courage that bent the impossible to their will. The cubs felt it too. Their growls, low and resonant, matched the rhythm of Kade's heartbeat. A flash of light erupted on the horizon. A ship, massive and angular, descended like a predator from the void, its hull reflecting the alien suns. The air vibrated with energy as it landed, thrumming with the promise of death. Kade stepped forward, not hiding, not retreating. Humans did not flee from the unknown. Humans faced it. The ship's hatch opened, and figures emerged, humanoid in shape but with features twisted by evolution under alien suns. Their eyes glowed faintly, teeth sharp, claws glinting. They moved with predator's grace, yet their intelligence was evident in the precision of their formation. One of them stepped forward, taller than the rest, armor shifting like living metal. "Earthling," it hissed, voice melodic but cruel. "You trespass where no species survives." Kade's pulse quickened, but he did not falter. "I do not trespass," he replied evenly, voice carrying across the plains. "I survive. I protect. I adapt, and I will not yield to predators." The alien studied him, tilting its head, as if weighing his soul. Humans carried a singular arrogance, a determination that defied logic. And it was that arrogance that had allowed Kade to raise 3 apex predators from the ruins of another species. The cubs stepped beside him, their combined presence radiating lethal grace and raw power. "You are not alone," Kade continued. "This world does not belong to you. It belongs to life that refuses to bow." The alien's mouth twisted into a semblance of a smile, and it gestured. The other figures moved forward. Kade's hand brushed Leora's flank. The bond between human and alien tiger was unspoken, yet absolute. Together, they would fight. Together, they would survive. The battle began. The alien struck first, claws and weapons lashing through the air, leaving streaks of blue energy. Rax met them head-on, a tidal wave of muscle and force, jaws snapping, teeth tearing through alien armor. Leora darted between strikes, her claws raking, muscles coiling like living steel. Nyx struck with surgical precision, exploiting openings that only a mind attuned to patterns could predict. Kade moved among them, a blur of calculated violence, instincts and intellect working in perfect harmony. He dodged, countered, improvised, turning each attack into a lesson, each blow into a strategy. The aliens were formidable, faster, stronger, smarter than any normal predator. Yet they had underestimated humans. Humans did not rely solely on strength. Humans adapted. Humans learned. Humans created solutions in the face of annihilation. Kade grabbed a fragment of broken alien armor, twisting it into a makeshift blade. Sparks flew as he slashed an incoming enemy, turning their own weapons against them. The cubs mirrored his creativity. Leora leapt high, striking the alien sensors, blinding them temporarily. Rax threw his massive body into a formation, scattering the attackers, leaving them exposed. Nyx darted among them like lightning. Strikes precise, lethal, impossible to anticipate. Hours passed, the plains littered with alien debris, their forms shattered, broken, yet constantly reforming. The aliens adapted too, their movements becoming more coordinated, more deadly. Kade realized the fight would not end with brute force alone. Strategy, intellect, and cunning would determine survival. He scanned the battlefield, mind racing. The aliens moved in patterns, predictable despite their superior abilities. He whispered to the cubs, voice steady, commanding. "Flank left. I draw them forward. Timing is everything." They obeyed instantly, a single organism with him at the center. Kade dashed forward, drawing the aliens' attention, dodging energy strikes that seared the ground. The cubs struck from the flanks, claws and teeth tearing through armor, exploiting openings Kade had predicted. The lead alien hissed, realizing too late that the human and his companions were no ordinary prey. Kade smiled, adrenaline and strategy combining into a lethal clarity. He leapt, striking with the makeshift blade, severing the alien's power conduit. Sparks erupted, armor collapsing, and the creature fell. The others faltered, seeing their leader struck down. Rax roared, Leora hissed, and Nyx's amber eyes glowed like fire as they pressed the advantage. The humans bond with the cubs. The synergy, the intelligence. These were weapons no alien could predict, no strategy could counter. One by one, the attackers fell, their bodies scattered across the plains, some dissolving in delight, others frozen in place by their own energy feedback. The twin suns set, painting the sky in violent streaks of crimson and violet. Kade stood amidst the carnage, chest heaving, muscles trembling from exertion. The cubs circled him, their fur glinting under the dying light, eyes alert for the next threat. The air vibrated with residual energy, humming with the planet's pulse. whispering of trials yet to come. Kade inhaled deeply, tasting victory and danger together. The universe was alive, watching, calculating, and waiting. He had proven that humans were more than mere flesh and bone. Humans were force, intellect, courage, and unpredictability made manifest. But even as he felt the satisfaction of triumph, a ripple in the plains caught his attention, a distortion, subtle yet unmistakable, spreading like oil across the landscape. Something vast stirred beneath the surface, older than the suns, older than the planet itself. Kade crouched, hand resting on Nyx's flank. The cubs tensed, muscles coiled, ears flicking. From the ground erupted towers of living metal, crystalline spires taller than mountains, veins pulsing with energy that warped reality around them. A voice echoed, not through air, but directly into Kade's mind, resonant and deep. You challenge what cannot be challenged, human. Kade swallowed. He felt the magnitude, the ancient power, yet fear did not bind him. Humans turned fear into action. Humans turned limits into opportunities. Humans defied inevitability. He stepped forward, voice strong, unwavering. We do not fear. We adapt. We survive. We conquer. The spires shimmered, reality bending around them. Then from the largest spire, a figure emerged, humanoid yet impossibly immense, its eyes voids consuming light. The cubs growled, tails lashing, fur bristling. Kade felt a thrill run through him. This was no ordinary opponent. This was a test of everything humanity represented. He stepped forward, unarmed except for courage, intellect, and the bond with his 3 alien cubs. The figure raised a hand, and the ground quaked. Kade did not falter. He advanced, each step echoing against the distorted plains, each heartbeat syncing with the cub's own. Energy surged around them, bending time and space, yet they moved with clarity and precision. The first strike came, a wave of pure force, reality itself trying to crush them. Kade dove, rolling through the impact, pulling the cubs with him. Rax launched into the spire figure, claws tearing, muscles coiled for maximum force. Leora and Nyx struck from the sides, attacking with agility and cunning. Kade found a weak point, a subtle ripple in the energy field surrounding the figure, and thrust his arm forward, channeling raw human determination into a physical strike. The figure recoiled, its eyes narrowing, realizing for the first time that humans could not be crushed by force alone. Humans thought, humans adapted, humans persevered. The battle escalated, energy cracking across the skies, landscape twisting under the clash of wills. Kade, breathing hard, muscles screaming, felt a clarity he had never known. The universe was not just a test. It was a canvas. Humans painted their defiance across it with courage, strategy, and unrelenting will. The cubs mirrored his resolve, their movements precise, intelligent, lethal. Together, they were unstoppable. The alien planes shattered beneath the weight of the spire figure's power. Energy rippled outward, bending light, twisting gravity, distorting time itself. Kade felt it pressing against him, a force older than planets, older than stars, older than the universe's memory. Yet he did not falter. Humans did not yield. Humans turned impossibility into opportunity. Humans transformed fear into audacity. He pressed forward, feeling every tremor in the ground, every shift in the wind, every vibration in the air. The cubs flanked him perfectly, muscles coiled, tails flicking, eyes blazing. Leora moved like living mercury, striking with precision and elegance. Rax was a battering ram of muscle, jaws snapping, claws tearing through anything that dared approach. Nyx struck like lightning, his amber eyes calculating every angle, every weakness, every pattern in the enemy's assault. The spire figure raised a hand, and a storm of energy erupted from its form, sweeping across the plains, turning stone to molten glass, air to fire. Kade rolled forward, dragging Leora with him. Rax met the wave head-on, absorbing the impact, teeth clamped on the ground to anchor himself. Nyx darted into the energy, predicting the currents, striking at weak points in the figure's massive frame. The figure's voice echoed in Kade's mind, deep and resonant. You are insignificant. Your species cannot endure the cosmos. Kade gritted his teeth, the taste of blood and ozone sharp in his mouth. "Insignificant," he shouted into the storm. "We endure because we adapt. We survive because we think. We dominate because we refuse to surrender." He hurled himself at the figure, spear of molten crystal in hand, energy flaring around it, feeding from the planet's pulse. The cub surged beside him, a blur of fur, muscle, and instinct. Leora struck first, claws raking across the figure's armor, creating fissures in energy that glowed with unnatural light. Rack slammed into the figure's leg, coiling and twisting with incredible force, sending sparks and shards of energy scattering. Nyx leapt from above, striking the figure's shoulder with precise force, driving it backward slightly. Kade aimed the crystal spear at the figure's core, thrusting with all his strength, feeding his determination, his ingenuity, his human audacity into the attack. The figure staggered, energy pulsing violently, reality bending around it. It roared, a sound that cracked the sky, shattered the plains, and resonated deep in Kade's chest. Yet humans did not fear impossible odds. Humans invented solutions. Humans turned limits into triumphs. Kade dropped to one knee, pulling shards of energy into a focus, crafting a trap of the environment itself. The spire figure lunged, anticipating victory. But Kade moved unpredictably, a human mind thriving on ingenuity, exploiting patterns, and improvising attacks the figure could not calculate. Leora darted under its legs, striking weak points in armor. Rack slammed into its chest, throwing it backward, creating a cascade of energy fractures. Nyx struck from the side, targeting the core with precision and lethal speed. Kade timed his strike perfectly, plunging the crystal spear into a fissure that pulsed at the figure's chest. Energy exploded outward, bending reality in waves, yet Kade held fast, muscles coiled, heart steady. The figure convulsed, fragments of its form scattering like shattered glass. Then, in a brilliant flash, it reformed, larger, more terrifying, eyes glowing with unyielding intelligence. Kade's mind raced. Brute force alone would not suffice. Creativity, strategy, and unity would determine survival. He signaled the cubs a silent command, and they moved as one, their synergy a living weapon. Leora fainted, drawing attention, while Rack slammed into the figure from an unexpected angle. Nyx darted beneath, striking with calculated precision, creating openings that Kade exploited with a combination of agility and sheer human resolve. The spire figure roared, energy tearing planes apart, but Kade continued, eyes locked on the core. Time slowed in the chaos, every heartbeat a calculation, every movement a strategy. He dodged, rolled, struck, and adapted, feeding from the environment, the cubs, and his own relentless will. The figure's energy pulse intensified, attempting to crush him, yet humans survived not because they were strongest, but because they were clever, adaptable, fearless. Kade saw it then, the pattern. The figure's core pulsed in a rhythm, a vulnerability hidden beneath the cosmic power. He whispered to the cubs, a single, synchronized thought. Strike together. Now. They obeyed instantly, moving as extensions of his mind. Leora struck first, claws tearing through the figure's energy armor. Rax followed, teeth and claws shredding armor fragments, muscles coiled and unyielding. Nyx darted into the breach, striking the core with precision. Kade plunged the crystal spear directly into the fissure, in sync with their strikes, channeling his will, intellect, and courage into the attack. The figure convulsed violently, energy exploding in a storm of light, heat, and sound. Kade shielded the cubs with his body, absorbing shards of energy, feeling the raw force try to tear them apart. Then, with a sound that echoed across the alien plains like the universe itself screaming, the figure shattered. Fragments of light and energy scattered across the horizon, dissipating into nothingness. The plains fell silent, the twin suns casting long shadows across the fractured land. Kade lay on the scorched ground, chest heaving, muscles trembling yet alive. The cubs circled him, tails flicking, fur bristling, eyes alert but calm. They had survived impossible odds. Humans had proven once again that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could triumph where brute strength alone could not. Kade rose slowly, surveying the alien horizon. Something shifted in the air, subtle but undeniable. A ripple, a warning, a hint of trials yet to come. The planet itself seemed to acknowledge the victory, pulsing with latent energy, whispering secrets of power older than memory. Kade tasted the air, a mixture of alien ozone and scorched stone, and smiled. The universe was alive, and it was testing him. Humans had never failed when tested, because humans never accepted impossibility. The cubs nudged him forward, urging him to continue, to explore, to survive, to conquer. And Kade would answer that call. Far in the distance, more distortions appeared, shapes bending reality, energy swirling in impossible patterns. The universe had more tests, more adversaries, more ancient forces to challenge. Kade tightened his grip on the crystal spear, muscles coiling, senses blazing. He had survived impossible creatures, cosmic forces, and alien intelligence beyond comprehension. He had raised 3 apex predators, companions who embodied his intellect, courage, and ingenuity. And together, they were unstoppable. The plain stretched before them, fractured, alive, dangerous, and full of opportunity. Kade inhaled, tasting the alien air, tasting possibility, tasting the audacity of humans in a universe that had never seen anything like them before. The horizon rippled again. This time, it was larger, more tangible. A fleet of massive alien ships descended, their engines tearing the skies, energy weapons glowing with destructive promise. Kade's pulse quickened, yet he did not fear. Fear was irrelevant. Courage, strategy, and willpower were everything. The cubs growled in unison, muscles tensed, eyes gleaming with lethal anticipation. He signaled them forward, and together, they charged across the alien plains, a storm of fur, muscle, and human ingenuity. Energy tore through the air around them. The ground shattered, yet they pressed forward. The first wave of ships opened fire, energy beams streaking toward them, but humans had never relied solely on armor or shields. Kade dodged, rolled, and improvised, feeding off the environment, using shards of fractured terrain as weapons and cover. Leora darted between fire, striking exposed weapons and sensors, creating chaos among the enemy ranks. Racks collided with smaller ships, crushing them with sheer force, leaving trails of molten wreckage. Nyx struck from unexpected angles, destroying targeting arrays and critical systems with surgical precision. Kade found an energy conduit exposed, feeding from one of the larger ships. He leapt, crystal spear ablaze, striking the conduit. Sparks exploded, systems failed, and the ship faltered, crashing into the plains with a roar that shook the air. The remaining ships hesitated, recalculating, adapting, but Kade smiled. Humans were not predictable. Humans did not fight in patterns. Humans survived because they evolved, because they innovated, because they refused to be conquered. The cubs mirrored his strategy, striking with lethal precision, moving as one with him, extensions of mind that had defied death and cosmic forces alike. The fleet faltered. Kade pressed the advantage, weaving through the chaos, spears striking conduits, cubs tearing through enemy ranks. One by one, the ships fell, crashing into the plains, energy flares illuminating the alien landscape in violent brilliance. Hours passed, the twin suns dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in bloody crimson and violet streaks. At last, silence returned, the plains littered with wreckage, smoke curling upward, faint ozone lingering in the air. Kade breathed deeply, chest heaving, muscles trembling yet triumphant. The cubs circled him, tails flicking, fur glowing faintly in the dying light, eyes alert but calm. Humans had survived. Humans had triumphed. The universe had learned once again why Earth's children were unlike any other species. Kade stood tall, gripping the crystal spear, eyes scanning the horizon, aware that more challenges awaited. Yet he felt the thrill, the undeniable certainty that humans, with courage, intelligence, and adaptability, could face anything. And somewhere, deep in the alien plains, something ancient stirred, watching, waiting, testing. Kade smiled, feeling the pulse of life around him, the bond with his cubs, the infinite possibilities of the universe. The adventure was far from over. The horizon rippled again, larger, more defined, promising the next trial, the next impossible challenge. Kade adjusted his stance, muscles coiled, senses blazing. Humans did not flee from the impossible. Humans advanced. The cubs growled in unison, ready, alert, lethal. And Kade, Earth's lion, would meet the universe head-on. The twin suns dipped below the jagged horizon, casting long shadows across the alien plains. Energy pulsed faintly in the cracks of the scorched earth, whispering secrets older than memory. Kade felt it in his bones. The universe had more in store. The fleet may have been defeated, the spire figure shattered, yet the cosmos was infinite, and danger infinite alongside it. Yet humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans triumphed. Kade exhaled slowly, tasting the air, tasting the challenge, tasting the audacity of life that refused to bow. The cubs nudged him forward. They were ready. The universe was waiting, and humans, with courage, intellect, and heart, would continue to prove that no force, no ancient entity, no impossible obstacle could suppress them. Kade stepped forward into the rippling horizon, spear in hand, cubs at his side, every sense alive, every thought focused, ready for the next impossible trial. The plains stretched endlessly, fractured, alive, dangerous, yet filled with opportunity. The cosmos whispered challenges, yet humans would answer. And Kade, Earth Lion, with his alien cubs, would answer louder, fiercer, and more decisively than anything that had ever dared confront them. The rippling horizon shimmered like molten glass, twisting reality with each step Kade took. The plains beneath him vibrated, a subtle hum that carried the bones of every living creature nearby. Even the cubs paused, ears flicking, fur bristling, sensing a presence that dwarfed everything they had encountered. Kade inhaled deeply, tasting the alien air metallic and alive, tinged with something ancient and sentient. He tightened his grip on the crystal spear, muscles coiling, mind racing. Somewhere out there, beyond the fractured plains and shattered horizon, a new force waited. An intelligence that had observed his victories, calculated his tactics, and now sought to challenge him. The cubs circled him instinctively. Leora's stripes shimmered, reflecting the distorted light of the twin suns. Rax's massive frame radiated raw power, teeth bared, claws scraping the scorched earth. Nyx's amber eyes gleamed, tail flicking with calculated precision, always scanning, always calculating. Kade felt a thrill pulse through him. This was what humanity was built for. Not comfort, not safety, not submission. Humans thrive where others faltered, survived where others perished, adapted where others failed. And he would prove it again. A ripple tore through the horizon, splitting the air with a jagged crack. From emerged shapes that defied geometry, living construct of light and shadow that moved with intent, their forms shifting constantly, impossibly. They were not animals, not machines, not organic. They were something older, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous. Kade stepped forward, his pulse steady, heart fierce. We are here. We endure. We adapt. We will not yield. The shapes halted, as if recognizing the audacity in his words. Then they moved, faster than thought, their energy lances cutting through the air, leaving streaks of blue and violet fire. Kade dove, rolling over shards of fractured terrain, dragging Leora with him. Rax leapt into the fray, teeth clamping onto a shard of living crystal, tearing it free, flinging it back at the attackers. Nyx struck from above, claws raking across energy shields, dismantling formations with surgical precision. Kade analyzed the attack pattern, mind racing, calculating angles, timing, and environmental advantages. He spotted the weak points, subtle distortions in the energy flow, gaps in the seemingly impenetrable shields. The cubs mirrored his understanding, acting as extensions of his will, their coordination perfect, almost unnatural. He whispered command, and they executed flawlessly. Leora feinted to the left, drawing multiple attackers toward her, while Rax barreled into the opening on the right, a tidal wave of raw power. Nyx darted through the chaos, striking exposed cores, destabilizing shields, exploiting flaws invisible to anything less intelligent than a human mind. Kade seized the moment. He charged, spear of molten crystal ablaze, channeling every ounce of human ingenuity, courage, and audacity into the strike. Energy erupted around him, reality warping, yet he remained focused, precise, unyielding. The attackers convulsed, some fragments of their form scattering into light, others dissolving into nothingness. But the fight was far from over. From the remnants of the vanishing attackers emerged a central intelligence, a towering figure of pulsating energy, its form constantly shifting, eyes voids of consuming darkness. It loomed above them, reality bending around it, gravity distorting, space fracturing. Kade's pulse accelerated, not with fear, but anticipation. Humans thrived in adversity. Humans turned limitations into strategy. Humans transformed impossible into opportunity. He raised a spear, signaling the cubs. They advanced as one, a single entity with him at the center, flowing through the battlefield with lethal precision. The figure struck first, energy tendrils slicing the air, tearing the terrain into molten shards. Kade rolled forward, dragging Leora with him, sparks flying as molten crystals struck the ground. Rax met the energy head-on, absorbing the impact, throwing the attacker off balance with brute force. Nyx darted beneath, striking at the figure's shifting core, claws tearing through energy conduits, exploiting every opening. Kade seized a chance, plunging the crystal spear into a subtle distortion, feeding it with raw determination and human ingenuity. The figure convulsed, its form destabilizing, energy pulsing violently. It unleashed a wave of force, hurling Kade and the cubs backward, grinding them into fractured planes. Pain lanced through Kade's body, yet he rose, breath ragged, muscles screaming. Humans did not surrender to pain. Humans did not retreat in the face of annihilation. Humans adapted. He inhaled, tasting ozone and molten stone, and smiled through the agony. The cubs regrouped instantly, forming a defensive perimeter, ready to strike again with lethal precision. The figure loomed above, pulsing with raw intelligence, realizing that humans were not predictable, not linear, not weak. Kade's mind raced, calculating, improvising, exploiting patterns. He spotted another distortion in the figure's form, a vulnerability hidden beneath layers of energy and shadow. He signaled the cubs. Together, they struck with perfect synchronization. Leora struck first, claws raking across the energy, creating openings. Rax barreled through the gap, ripping through energy barriers with raw strength. Nyx darted into the breach, striking the figure's core with deadly precision. Kade plunged the crystal spear directly into the distortion, channeling every ounce of human ingenuity, courage, and determination. The figure convulsed violently, reality itself bending around the impact. Energy exploded outward, a storm of light, fire, and sound. Yet Kade held fast, muscles coiled, mind razor-sharp, while unbreakable. The figure shrieked, a sound that resonated across the plains and deep into Kade's bones. Yet he pressed forward, unwavering. Fragments of the figure scattered, dissolving into light, energy, and shadow, yet slowly reformed, larger, more intelligent, more terrifying than before. Kade exhaled sharply, muscles trembling, yet focus absolute. Humans had survived worse. Humans had adapted before. Humans had conquered against impossible odds. He adjusted his stance, spear raised, cubs circling ready. The figure's form twisted, energy pulsing violently, reality itself attempting to crush them. Yet Kade did not flinch. He saw patterns, weaknesses, openings invisible to any being less intelligent than a human mind. He moved unpredictably, a blur of thought and action, dragging the cubs with him, flowing to the battlefield with lethal precision. Leora feinted again. Rax charged. Nyx struck from multiple angles, and Kade aimed for the shifting core, striking with calculated force. Energy erupted, terrain shattering, skies cracking with raw power, yet humans endured. The figure's scream reverberated, reality bending. Yet Kade pressed forward, the cubs at his side, a living embodiment of human strategy, courage, and adaptability. Fragments of energy exploded across the plains, yet they moved through, striking relentlessly, exploiting every flaw, every miscalculation. The figure's form destabilized, pulses erratic, energy faltering. Kade heart pounded, pulse synced with the cubs, mind razor-sharp, body honed for the impossible. He struck again, plunging the spear into the core with lethal precision. The figure convulsed violently, energy exploding outward in a storm that shook the plains, bending reality, fracturing the sky and scattering fragments of its form into nothingness. Silence fell, thick and heavy, broken only by the hum of the planet itself, pulsing beneath their feet. Kade collapsed on the fractured plains, lungs burning, body trembling, yet alive. The cubs circled him, tails flicking, fur glowing faintly, eyes alert but calm. They had survived another impossible trial. Humans had triumphed once again. The horizon shimmered faintly, rippling, as if acknowledging their victory, whispering secrets of forces yet to come. Kade inhaled, tasting victory, danger, and the thrill of the infinite cosmos. The universe had witnessed once again the audacity of humans. Far off in the distance, more distortions appeared, vast, powerful, ancient. Kade rose slowly, spear in hand, cubs at his side, senses alive, mind sharpened, body coiled for action. The plains stretched endlessly, fractured, alive, dangerous, yet full of opportunity. Humans endured, humans adapted, humans conquered, and Kade, Earth Lion, with his alien cubs, would continue to prove the universe wrong. The horizon rippled again, larger, more defined, signaling the next impossible challenge, the next test, the next trial. Kade adjusted his stance, muscles coiled, mind alert, heart steady. Humans did not retreat. Humans advanced. Humans triumphed. The cubs growled in unison, lethal, precise, ready, and Kade stepped forward into the rippling horizon, spear blazing, cubs at his side, eyes locked on the coming unknown, ready to defy the universe once more. The rippling horizon seemed alive, bending light and warping space in ways the human mind could barely comprehend. Kade's boots sank into the alien soil, scarred from battles past, trembling under the weight of forces older than stars. The cubs flanked him, muscles taut, fur bristling, eyes locked on the distortions rising from the horizon. Leora moved like liquid silver, every stride precise, every movement calculated for maximum effect. Rax was a mountain of muscle and raw power, every step a promise of destruction, yet his loyalty to Kade kept him coordinated with lethal precision. Nyx, ever the strategist, darted forward, eyes blazing amber, calculating, predicting, exploiting every potential advantage in a battlefield that defied logic. Kade inhaled, tasting the air, a mix of ozone, molten stone, and something far older, far darker. It was a call of the universe itself, summoning him toward trials that no species had survived before. The sky fractured further, massive distortions tearing open like wounds in reality. From them emerged creatures that defied description, twisting geometry, energy streaming in impossible forms. They were vast, ancient, and intelligent, moving with intent, calculating Kade's every possible move before he could even consider it. Yet humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans survived. Kade tightened his grip on the crystal spear, muscles coiling, heart steady. The cubs readied themselves, their instincts sharpened by years of survival, yet honed to match Kade's intelligence. Leora hissed, tail lashing, eyes glowing silver. Rax's growl vibrated through the ground, a warning, a declaration, a challenge. Nyx crouched low, amber eyes scanning for weaknesses invisible to anything less intelligent than a human mind. The first wave struck. Energy beams tore across the plains, shards of light slicing through the air, scorching the soil. Kade rolled, dragging the ore with him, molten dust exploding under their feet. Rax collided head-on with a hulking creature, teeth tearing, claws raking through energy shields, muscles coiled like living steel. Nyx darted between enemies, striking with surgical precision, destabilizing their energy fields, tearing apart formations that had seemed invincible. Kade's mind worked like lightning, predicting the flow of the battle, calculating angles, timing, and environmental advantage. He spotted a weak point in the largest creature, a subtle distortion in its energy armor. He signaled the cubs with a wordless command. They moved as extensions of his will, flowing to the battlefield with synchronized precision. Leora feinted to the left, drawing multiple attackers into her path, while Rax slammed into the opening on the right, sheer force ripping through defenses. Nyx darted behind the largest entity, claws sinking deep into its energy core, destabilizing its form. Kade charged, crystal spear ablaze, channeling all his intellect, courage, and human audacity into the strike. Energy exploded around him, reality itself twisting in protest. Yet he moved with clarity, precision, and unwavering determination. The creature convulsed, fragments of its form scattering into light, yet slowly reformed, larger and more intelligent. Kade exhaled sharply, adjusting his stance. Humans never fought alone. They fought with strategy, with ingenuity, with an unyielding will that no force could break. The battle escalated, energy tearing across the skies, the plains cracking beneath the fury. Kade leapt, dodging blasts, using shards of the fractured terrain as shields, improvising weapons from debris and crystal fragments. Leora struck from above, claws ripping through armor, tearing open energy conduits. Rack slammed into the flank, shaking the ground, disrupting the enemy's formation, teeth tearing through energy tendrils. Nyx darted in and out, precise strikes dismantling shields and exposing vital points. Kade seized the opening, thrusting the crystal spear into the central distortion, channeling pure human determination, courage, and creativity into the attack. The largest creature convulsed violently, energy pulsing outward, cracking the plains and fracturing the sky. Kade shielded the cubs, absorbing shard of energy, feeling the raw force attempt to crush them all. Pain surged through him, but he did not relent. Humans transformed fear into action. Humans turned impossibility into triumph. Humans endured. The creature screeched, a sound that resonated across the fractured plains and deep into Kade's bones. Yet he pressed forward, every step a declaration of human resilience. The cubs mirrored him perfectly, moving as a single deadly unit, an extension of his intellect, strategy, and willpower. Leora struck, Rack slammed, Nyx attacked, and Kade pierced the core with a crystal spear. Energy erupted, a storm of light heat and force, yet Kade held fast, muscles coiled, heart steady, mind razor-sharp. The creature faltered, pulsing erratically, reality itself bending under the pressure of its instability. Kade pressed the advantage, thrusting, dodging, improvising, exploiting every flaw in the enemy's defense. The creature convulsed, energy fragments scattering like stars across the horizon, yet reformed, larger and more intelligent. Kade realized brute force alone would not suffice. He scanned the battlefield, searching for patterns, weak points, opportunities to use strategy, cunning, and human adaptability. The cubs anticipated his thoughts, moving in perfect unison, striking from angles he had not even spoken, anticipating every move. Kade smiled through blood and sweat. Humans were unpredictable. Humans innovated. Humans endured. He feinted left, drawing the creature's attention, while the cubs struck from multiple angles. Leora slashed energy conduits, Rack slammed critical joints, and Nyx pierced the core with precision strikes. Kade seized the moment, plunging the crystal spear into the heart of the energy distortion. The creature screamed, reality quivering around it, fragments scattering into light, shadow, and pure energy. The plain shook violently, molten rivers bursting from cracks in the earth, the sky ablaze with twin suns dying light. Kade shielded the cubs, rolling through the chaos, muscles screaming, lungs burning. When the storm of energy subsided, the plains fell silent. The horizon shimmered faintly, ripples spreading across the fractured earth as if acknowledging the human's victory. Kade collapsed, chest heaving, body trembling, yet alive. The cubs circled him, tails flicking, fur glowing faintly in the fading light, eyes alert but calm. They had survived another impossible trial. Humans had triumphed again. Far off in the distance, more distortions appeared, larger, more tangible, more intelligent. Kade rose slowly, spear in hand, cubs at his side, senses alive, muscles coiled, mind razor-sharp. The plain stretched endlessly, fractured, alive, dangerous, yet full of opportunity. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans conquered. The horizon rippled again, larger, more defined, promising the next impossible trial. Kade adjusted his stance, muscles tense, mind alert. Humans did not retreat. Humans advanced. Humans triumphed. The cubs growled in unison, lethal, precise, ready. Kade stepped forward into the rippling horizon, spear blazing, Cubs at his side, eyes locked on the coming unknown, prepare to defy the universe once more. Time seemed to bend around them, energy currents twisting and colliding, yet Kade pressed forward. The next wave of enemies emerged, a fleet of colossal, intelligent constructs, each one bristling with weapons beyond imagination, their movements calculated, precise, unstoppable to anything less than a human mind. Kade's pulse quickened, yet fear did not bind him. Humans thrived in adversity. Humans innovated in impossible circumstances. Humans turned overwhelming odds into victory. The cubs mirrored his understanding, moving as extensions of his intellect and will. Leora darted through the gaps in the enemy's formation, claws tearing through targeting arrays. Rack slammed into the largest construct, shaking the ground, disrupting their coordination. Nyx struck from above, disabling energy conduits with surgical precision. Kade seized the opportunity, plunging the crystal spear into a central nexus of the largest construct, channeling ingenuity, courage, and raw human determination into the strike. Energy exploded outward, reality bending under force. Yet Kade held fast, muscles coiled, mind razor-sharp, heart unwavering. The constructs faltered, their formation collapsing, energy scattering in disarray. The plane shook violently, molten cracks opening across the battlefield. Kade shielded the cubs, rolling through fragments of energy, sparks, and molten rock. Every step a declaration of human resilience. When the energy storm subsided, silence fell once more, thick and heavy. The plains bore the scars of the battle, fractured and alive, yet the humans and their cubs remained standing. Victory was not final. The universe remained vast, dangerous, alive, yet humanity endured. Kade inhaled deeply, tasting victory, danger, and the thrill of existence in a universe that tested every limit. The cubs nudged him forward, urging him onward. The horizon rippled again, signaling the next trial, the next challenge, the next impossible adversary. Kade's pulse quickened, muscles coiled, mind focused. Humans did not flee. Humans advanced. Humans triumphed. The cubs growled in unison, tails flicking, eyes locked on the unknown. And Kade, Earth Lion, spear blazing, cubs at his side, stepped forward into the next impossible horizon, ready to prove once more that humans were unmatched in courage, intelligence, and the audacity to survive in a hostile universe. The horizon stretched endlessly, fractured by battles past and scarred by impossible forces, yet alive with the pulse of the universe itself. Kade stood at the edge of a jagged cliff, the twin suns sinking behind the shattered plains, casting long, molten shadows that danced across the fractured terrain. The cubs circled him, muscles coiled, eyes glowing faintly, sensing the residual energies that hummed through the air. Leora crouched low, ears flattened, tail flicking with lethal anticipation. Rax exhaled a rumbling growl that shook the ground, claws scraping against jagged stone, radiating strength and power. Nyx's amber eyes glimmered in the dying light, scanning the horizon with a precision that bordered on preternatural. Kade exhaled slowly, tasting the alien air, a mixture of ozone, scorched stone, and raw energy lingering from battles that had stretched the limits of existence. The universe had tested them in ways unimaginable. Ancient entities, impossible creatures, alien fleets, and distortions in reality itself had risen to challenge humanity's audacity. And yet, against every odd, against every impossibility, humans had endured. Humans had adapted. Humans had triumphed. The battlefield behind them was littered with the remnants of every challenge they had faced. Crystalline shards glimmered in the dying sunlight, molten fissures smoked, and alien constructs lay shattered, their energy dissipating into thin, alien atmosphere. Kade's mind raced not with fear, but with clarity. Every victory, every narrow escape, every calculated maneuver had proven one irrefutable truth. Humans did not yield. Humans did not submit. Humans transformed the impossible into opportunity. The cubs nudged him, their eyes reflecting understanding beyond instinct. They were not merely animals. They were extensions of his mind, his courage, his ingenuity. They embodied what humans represented: resilience, adaptability, and audacity. Kade knelt, brushing his hand along Leora's sleek fur, feeling the warmth of her body, the power in every muscle. You survived, he murmured. We survived. Together. Rax pressed against his side, a pillar of muscle and strength, as if acknowledging the journey they'd endured together. Nyx circled, tail flicking, head tilted, amber eyes gleaming with intelligence that seemed to understand the weight of what they had accomplished. Kade rose slowly, looking out over the shattered plains, sensing the pulse of the planet beneath his feet, the lingering hum of energy in the fractured atmosphere. Somewhere in the distance, distortions twisted the horizon. Faint ripples of energy danced across the sky, remnants of ancient forces that had tested him, tested the cubs, tested humanity itself. Yet he smiled, because humans had not only survived, they had adapted, they had endured, they had triumphed, and the universe had learned, once again, that humans were not a species to be underestimated. Kade adjusted the crystal spear in his hand, its surface glowing faintly with residual energy, a symbol of ingenuity, courage, and survival. He looked down at the cubs. We have proven ourselves, he said softly, but the universe will always have more trials, more challenges, more impossible odds, and we will meet them. The cubs responded in kind, growls and hisses blending into a rhythm that mirrored his heartbeat. The twin suns finally dipped below the horizon, the sky igniting in a final display of violet and crimson, painting the plains with light and shadow. Kade breathed deeply, feeling the weight of survival, the thrill of victory, and the promise of infinite possibility. The universe was vast, endless, and dangerous, yet humans endured. And he, Earth Lion, with his 3 alien tiger cubs at his side, was living proof of what humanity could achieve. He took a step forward, leading the cubs toward the uncharted lands ahead, where distortions shimmered like mirages, where ancient energy hummed beneath the surface, where unimaginable challenges waited. But he did not fear, because humans transformed fear into action. Humans transformed chaos into strategy. Humans transformed impossibility into triumph. The cubs followed, silent and deadly, muscles rippling, eyes glowing, instincts honed to perfection, minds attuned to Kade's will. They moved as one to fractured plains, each step deliberate, each motion calculated, each heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of the universe. Energy waves radiated across the horizon, remnants of battles fought and survived, yet Kade and the cubs advanced without hesitation. The universe itself seemed to pause, as if acknowledging the audacity of the species that had carved its path across impossible odds. Kade looked to the skies, stars beginning to pierce the twilight, constellations unfamiliar, yet guiding him forward. He inhaled, tasting the air, tasting victory, tasting possibility, tasting the audacity of life that refused to submit. The cubs nudged him forward, tails flicking, muscles coiled, eyes gleaming with the promise of challenges ahead. They were ready. Kade smiled. The horizon pulsed faintly, distortion stretching like liquid energy, hinting at threats and opportunities beyond comprehension. And yet humans did not retreat. Humans advanced. Humans triumphed. Every scar on the plains, every fracture in the terrain, every lingering pulse of energy was a testament to survival, to ingenuity, to the relentless audacity of life that refused to bow. Kade adjusted his stance, spear glowing faintly in the twilight, eyes scanning the horizon for the next impossible challenge. The cubs flanked him, muscles coiled, tails flicking, fur bristling. They had survived the impossible before. They would survive it again. The plain stretched before them, jagged, fractured, alive with energy, and yet full of opportunity. Kade exhaled slowly, savoring the moment, yet aware that the universe held infinite trials, infinite dangers, infinite possibilities. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans conquered. He lifted the spear, signaling forward, and together with the cubs, he moved into the unknown, each step a declaration, each heartbeat proof that humanity could not be defeated. The twin suns had set, yet the light of determination burned brighter than any star in the sky. Energy pulses from distant distortions shimmered, alive, dangerous, ancient, yet Kade walked toward them without hesitation. Humans had faced the impossible and transformed it into opportunity. The cubs mirrored his resolve, moving with lethal grace and precision, ready for any trial. Kade's heart pounded, muscles coiled, mind alert, senses alive. He had faced cosmic entities, impossible forces, and alien intelligence beyond comprehension, and survived. The horizon pulsed again, larger, more defined, hinting at trials beyond imagination. Kade inhaled, tasting the alien air, tasting challenge, tasting the thrill of existence in a universe that defied comprehension. He smiled, feeling the bond with the cubs, feeling the audacity of humans, feeling the certainty that whatever lay ahead, they would endure. The plain stretched endlessly, fractured, dangerous, alive, yet full of opportunity. Kade stepped forward, spear in hand, cubs at his side, muscles coiled, mind razor-sharp, eyes locked on the horizon. Humans did not flee. Humans advanced. Humans triumphed. And the universe would witness it once more. The twin suns faded into the night sky, stars piercing through, constellations unfamiliar yet guiding, illuminating the path forward. Kade adjusted his stance, muscles tense, mind alert, pulse steady. The cubs circled him, ready, precise, lethal extensions of his will, mind, and courage. Together, they moved into the unknown, every step deliberate, every heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of the universe. The horizon rippled faintly, the energy of uncharted land stretching toward them, beckoning, challenging, promising trials beyond comprehension. Kade exhaled slowly, savoring the taste of survival, triumph, and infinite possibility. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans conquered. The cubs nudged him forward, urging him into the uncharted, the impossible, the infinite. He smiled, lifting the crystal spear, eyes blazing with determination. The plains lay ahead, fractured and alive, yet full of opportunity. The stars above whispered promises of trials beyond imagination, challenges designed to test the audacity, intelligence, and courage of life itself. Kade inhaled, tasted the air, tasted the universe, and stepped forward. The cubs flanked him, muscles coiled, eyes glowing, instincts tuned, minds attuned to his will. Humans did not retreat. Humans advanced. Humans triumphed. The horizon pulsed with energy, alive, dangerous, and infinite. And Kade, Earth Lion, spear blazing, cubs at his side, stepped into the next impossible challenge. The universe would remember, because humans endure, humans adapt, humans conquer, and Kade, with his alien cubs, would prove it again,